Hello, and welcome to another episode of The World According to Gwen. I gotta tell you straight up, I'm not done with this whole relationship thing, so I'm gonna keep going with it. Uh, several interest, well, I was gonna say several interesting developments in that, but we'll get to that later. So since this is my second week of being on the outs, I figure it's a good time to start with the second week of what had gone on and how things went. And so I've been looking over the text messages of what had happened. So here's what happened today. I'm pretty sure that I mentioned in one of the last videos, not the friendship one, where my friend, my speed dating friend, set my world straight, got my brain thinking again. But the one prior to that, I had mentioned how my mate had wanted me to see his therapist to determine whether or not I was a narcissist. And so I talked to her, and she's like, "Yeah, no, your narcissistic traits are not out of balance." So today, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to call her and I'm going to tell her what has happened. So I did. I called her and I was like, hey, you remember I talked to you on Wednesday and I left. It's hard for me to hold myself back from saying his name. And I left his place on Friday, and then by Sunday, poof, he was gone, back to his former girlfriend. And she went, oh, I'm so sorry, that's been the outcome for you. And I was like, yeah, like, I'm kind of in shock over the whole thing and what has happened and transpired. So we talk a little bit more, and she said to me, you know, I think you've been blindsided. And so I go to Google and I put in narcissistic and blindsided, and like 400 different articles come up. And I was like, no kidding, like that is what has been going on. And she mentioned to me about, she said, you need to take your thinking mind and assess and determine whether or not, you know, this relationship has been healthy, and if there's anything that can be healthy in there for you, and whether or not he can reciprocate any of that, and whether or not he's, you know, I have to give space and see if he feels at all like he has anything to do with the way things are, and you know, willingness to change. Can't just be me that is changing. So I was like, oh yeah, thinking mind, like I'm pretty sure that's what my friend told me last week, you know, where I turned the corner. So I've been going over and looking at stuff and rereading, and most, you know, I mentioned that those first couple of nights he came and stayed with us, there were a couple of instances that were kind of weird, and he threatened to leave, and I was like, well, you know, don't let the door hit you on the ass as you go. Just out of nowhere, you know, he was going to get up and go, but didn't. And I was even reading over a text message in here where I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something about leaving for some reason, and but he said he was wanting to make sure that he wasn't doing it prematurely or for the wrong reason or something like that. And so there must have been some tension, and but you know, I'm reading it and my heart is like, oh, like he was paying attention then early. And so I got my calendar because it helps me. And I can remember a lot of things and put things together. So we first meet in person on April the 9th. And then, now I'm talking the week of the 17th to the 21st. And most of it was very sweet and kind and generous. And it almost kind of pulls on my heartstrings to read the, like, you know, I love you, 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 love you, love you. And that all goes back and forth, which was fine. And then this Friday morning on the 21st, I send him a voice message. I don't know why exactly I sent this message over. But I was going to play it for you too. You remember we were both Bikram yoga teachers, both still are Bikram yoga teachers, even though we're not actively teaching in a studio. And okay, some people might be like, that doesn't count. Whatever, go. Anyways, and one of the things that I had on this particular Friday, the 21st, was when I realized that Boss was having teacher trainings again going on in Thailand, and I was like, hey, like, that's cool. Like, we could back up and go to Thailand, and we could go talk to Bikram and see about whether or not he says we should marry and stay together, because Indian marriage, no divorce. But don't mess around. Like, you're in it, and you're in it, and that's the way that goes. And at that time, he was kind of going on about how, well, I helped Bikram with this and at that, and some other things here and there, and kind of, I felt like blowing himself up to be some, you know, like on the inner circle type of thing, and I was like, I'm not impressed by that. I don't really care. And it was just kind of awkward. And then when we would have talks about Boss and class, they didn't always line up right, because I can remember. Let me back up a little. I love Bikram Chowdhury. That man helped me save my life. He trained me up good and strong, and there is not another man on the planet that I trust with my eternal life more than him. And I don't think that's changing. So many times, if I'd have done what he told me to do, like, who knows what my life would be. Anyways, and Boss was always very clear, and we will have a whole playlist, or at least a couple of videos about Bikram, and because he is that amazing. And the mate, I was about to call him by name, we would kind of clash heads, because I'm like, you know, the series is a series, and if you do the series, you receive the benefit. And he's like, nope, has to be in a heated room with a mirror and other people and an active teacher. And I'm like, no, you have to move your body through the postures. And I practice on my own, not nearly as regularly as I should have been. It's been a lot better lately. But for a few years there, I just kind of totally fell off of that train, because I put a lot of attention into learning about trading futures markets. And so we would talk about what was really one of the most important foundational pieces of my adulthood. It wasn't always congruent, and I just kind of kept thinking to myself, like, man, you don't get it all. You haven't gotten it all. You've got what you got, but you haven't gotten like the full picture of the magnitude of this whole process. But that's just what it is. You know, people are people, and they are where they are. So as um, uh, when we first started dating, I was probably these couple months ago 20, 25 maybe pounds heavier than I am now, because I'm opening up my phone. I had been kind of, well, like you're going to hear in the message, and that was one of those things that I wanted to change, and now it's changed, and it's good, and maybe I tell you, I ain't never going back. So here's what I had to say to him.
All of my kids have Apple ID. I'm not sure what mine is. I'll have to look through my emails to see if I can sign in. I downloaded the app, and actually, all of that is not what I'm thinking about at all right now. I just got back from the beach, which was lovely, and we couldn't exactly make my mind sit still, but lots of things kind of going over in it. And I was thinking about you commenting to me a little bit ago about how reckless it was to eat Oreos, because of all the chemical crap and all that kind of thing. And I was thinking about how a few years ago, probably about 6 now, when I really sat down to formally trade and have to train myself to be so still, and I did. I ate a lot of potato chips. I ate a lot of potato chips, and I just kind of got to this point of gotta let my body go. And I was remembering while I was sitting down on the beach, just this sadness in me, and at that time, even though I was very excited about trading, there was still the sadness in my heart about not having you. Yeah, I'm going to make it real personal, and I'll make it you, not just any man that the universe wanted to create for me, but you specifically. And I think I was kind of at a point of well, if I'm not going to have the love of my life, that's been all I've wanted to live for but with, for, almost forever, since I was 10 years old. It doesn't really matter if I'm reckless, because there's not really anything else there. And that's not 100% true. I mean, I love my children, undeniably, and I do love my life, and I do love my existence. But even as recently as 2019, before COVID hit, and I was at Qigong, and I remember driving home, and I was like, well, Lord, I don't even know what I'm alive for anymore. I don't have my husband. I haven't won the lottery yet, and I just don't even know why I'm here. There's just I didn't feel like there was any reason for me to really be here. And then it kind of came around to children, because I'll do anything to help any child on the planet, So it's kind of been like that for a few years, and then now here you are, and I think I'm just going to go sit in my room and cry some tears of gratitude for a little while, just because it's helping something in my heart, and that's what I wanted to tell you. I love you, and boy, that all seems like a lot of drama and pressure kind of stuff, and I don't really mean it that way. Well, I don't know what I mean. I just kind of putting things together, seeing how things come together. Hope your day goes good. I will talk to you later. Love you bunches. I really do. And, that's what I got. Bye.
See, I tell you, there was good. And so that was the message that I'd sent over to him, and he responds. I'm not going to read you the whole text message and the response to him, but the long and the short of what he did say was, what I kept waiting to hear was that you wanted to take care of yourself because you love yourself. And clearly he didn't hear me say, I love my existence. So, and talking about recklessness, but the other reason I even bring all this up is because this was some of the very beginning of the food stuff and control type things. Don't misunderstand me. Oreos are toxic. Even late at the last, I think that's one of the last times I ate one was back in April. And if you take the time to actually sit and taste it, you can taste all the chemicals that are on it. But this made in particular was really kind of hardcore about letting you know that you're eating garbage. And I can remember the feeling of dang, I'm never going to be able to eat an Oreo again, you know, with this guy. And which didn't necessarily, it was just I knew then that I was starting to feel aspects of control. Even though it was true, and even though I don't eat this stuff anymore, and even though now that I have shed so much of the extra poundage toxicity that I had been carrying, I don't plan to ever go back again. That's something I have to say I'm really very grateful about this relationship, is that it did propel me forward, and I'm not going back. But he comments about the recklessness, and that in his mind, recklessness, as for the chips, etc., my point is recklessness is equal to no yoga. To see yoga as important and to not see self beyond yoga now or ever, and examine why. Is there a fair or unfair about these kinds of I don't even understand what he's saying. Uncorrelatable positions, like we allow ourselves to see power of mind and intention, and mind. I like to call placebo override is overriding factor in many trials. So this fact about mind is right, however, cannot undermine the foundations of mind, for example, body, etc., and expect same kind of power of mind. Do you mind my mindfulness here? You probably don't understand what I said there, but that's okay. I'm big on mind power, law of attraction, right? And body and mind are two sides of the same coin, but the spirit is the edge of the coin. So we don't walk too much in the body, we don't walk too much in the mind. The real power is the edge. I want to make a video about that. Mind and body, two sides of the same coin. But the power is on the edge, on the line. And I had clearly gone too far off one way or another. And utterly just disregarded my body because of, like I said, I was like, what the hell? I don't even know what I'm doing here anymore because I'm missing my mate. So, and then that was on a Friday. I do a Bikram class. I find a Bikram class online that he had recorded earlier in the year. I go in the room and I turn it on and I do this whole thing, which my mate, doesn't even really count as practice because it's not in a class environment with a live teacher. And I'm like, dude, no, I'm moving my body around. And but as I did that, and then I start finding all this stuff about teacher training going on, I was so inspired, and I was like, hey, we can go to Thailand, we can do this, we can get in touch with him, we can do all these things, because he'd kind of fallen off the map for a while. And I was like, hey, you can call him. you know him, you've been on this little bit of the inner circle kind of thing. Here's some addresses of ways to contact and connect to people, and you can do that. And if you're, you know, I'm serious, are you serious? And you can do that. And so I find these, that's like a red flag, but I find these ways of contact, points of contact, you know, people use social media all the time. And I'm like, go to it, you know? And then I had to work in the hospital on Saturday and Sunday. And because he was off for the day on Sunday, he had texted me about wanting to, remember my hospital is like 2 hours from his house, wanting to come and pick me up and drive me to work, and then him spend the day down in Sebastian, and then he would drive me back. And I can remember just thinking, like, my God, that just seems so excessive. Like, I appreciated the opportunity, which I didn't take him up on, but I remember thinking that it was kind of excessive. And I was like, no, I would rather you get hold of the boss and let's make some plans. So that's how we closed out the second week. And there's definitely lots of beautiful, loving, kind, gentle, mushy kind of stuff that transpired in that time. So, you know, all that time everything was copacetic, but I do remember recognizing little points of, like, not really sure how to take it. I'm pretty confident today he would say, you didn't know how to let yourself be loved. But to see the way everything has ended up and the way the rest of the stuff changed and transpired, especially over the next few days, which I'm going to start in the next video. Yeah, so enough for this, because it's 22 minutes, and catch up on week 3 in just a minute here. Okay, ciao.